Hello, everyone, and welcome again to the Unfound Podcast Channel on YouTube. I am, of course, Unfound's host, Ed Densel. I hope everybody is having a great day. Before I get too far into this map and route analysis for the disappearance of Christopher Douthat, I hope you will subscribe to this channel if you're not yet a subscriber. I hope you will give this video a thumbs up. Please share it with anybody who you think could be or might be interested in Christopher's disappearance, maybe in particular people in the Roanoke, Virginia area. And if you'd like to go that one step further to support the content that we provide on Unfound, whether on this YouTube channel or on Patreon or, of course, the regular podcast on iTunes, Spotify, everything that we do here, if you like it, if you find it informative, please consider hitting the join button below. And for the very, 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 very low price of $3 a month, you can get some additional stuff that other people do not get on this channel. Okay, so here we are looking at what Google says is the most likely route that Christopher Douthat would have taken on that day from Chap's Tavern, which is right there at the top of the screen, to the food line on Bennington Street. And just to keep something in mind, just like any grocery chain, there is more than one food line in Roanoke, Virginia. But this is the one where Christopher was supposed to meet this female friend of his. And if you've already listened to the episode, you know that she showed up. He wasn't there. She looked around for him and could not find him. And dare I say that I believe her story. I do not believe that she showed up and picked Christopher up and lied about that. If you do not want to believe her story, fine by me. I'm inclined to believe it. If you think something different, totally fine. But this is what Google says according to the way someone would walk, and I think I've showed this before, but just if you're new to all of this, when Google is showing a route in which somebody is walking, it is these blue circles all connected together. When it's a car or a motorcycle, it goes to a solid blue line that you see there. Now, what does it look like with a bike? It looks like also a solid blue line. That's interesting. Maybe that's the first time I've ever done this. But our understanding, his mother Mary's understanding, is that Christopher's plan was to walk from Chap's Tavern to the food line. And as you can see right here, it is 2.4 miles and 52 minutes as it is on this day. And I'm doing this on September 21st of 2023. And did he make it there? Did he not make it there? That is up for you to decide. What gets my attention, there are a couple things that get my attention regarding this. First, just because Google says that the most efficient route, the quickest route, dare I say I said that again, was going this direction, there is possibly another way that he could have gone. And I'm going to have to maybe zoom in a little bit to show it to you. There is this 9th Street route that goes right like this, past Belmont Park, past Morningside Park, that goes straight down here. Why is this significant? Because the ping information says that his phone last pinged on 9th Street somewhere. Well, 9th Street is over here, but Google says the most efficient route, the quickest route, is to go way over here and around. And you should know this route seems to be straighter, and I think that would Christopher have used Google Maps to look at the most efficient route to get to the food line? Hard to tell. He was a local. Maybe he just thought he knew that for himself, but given that I've lived in a couple different cities in my life, sometimes the way what locals think is the most efficient route is really not. Really, for locals in areas, we tend to take what we think is the easier route, even though we think it's quicker, but maybe we're just picking it because it's easier. There are fewer turns or fewer stoplights or something, but when we really get into the data, like Google or the map app Waze can on your phone, if you've downloaded it, that's really not how they work. They're really crunching the numbers, whereas humans, we're just going by our perception and our feelings sometimes. So it very well may be, given that Chaps is right here, all Christopher did was go right here and go straight down, even though it would have taken a few minutes more. And I did check this out. I'm not going to do it on this map, but that it's like 3 miles. Don't mind this grid. This is like an alternate route. But if you were to go down here, and there is a bridge that goes across the river right there, I'll get into the river in a second, it would be about 3 miles and a little bit longer to go this direction in contrast to walking this direction, even though this does look quicker. I've never been there. I really don't know what to say about that. But we have to be open to the idea that Christopher, if we believe his plan was to walk to the food line and did get there, that he might have taken this direction and not the route that Google suggests. Brings us to the other point about Christopher's disappearance, and I kind of mentioned it at the end, if you've already listened to the episode, that I want to talk about this river a little bit. You know me by this time. When we get into disappearances like this, one of the first things that I do is I go and try to find, well, what's the nearest body of water? A lot of times we're talking about lakes and rivers. Those are the most two common ones, even though like in Tiffany Daniels, it was the Gulf of Mexico. J.R. Mollahan, it was the Atlantic Ocean. For a lot of these, Shane Fell, the Mississippi River. And others, Jake LaChalais, also the Mississippi River. But then we've had some other ones. Ben Archer was the Delaware River. It's a little bit different here, and I'm going to show you why. Certainly is something to think about. Could it be that Christopher lied to this woman, that he really didn't get to the food line? He was feeling depressed. He had a son who had just died, a child who had just died. He has this trial coming up, the second trial. He's stressed out, can't handle it. Did he choose to kill himself by going into this river? Did he just make up that he saw somebody in a truck that he knew, he was going to get into this truck? Well, allow me to now go to a satellite view. So we're going to actually, instead of having a little graphic drawing, we're going to actually have a picture. And so I'm going to go down to street view. And first of all, we're going to take a look at the alternate route and where it crosses the Roanoke River, which is right there. You can see this is 9th Street right here. And had he walked across here and then he would have gone this way, made a left, or going east, over here off screen is where that food line is. I'm going to do a street view. I'm going to take the little orange person and pluck him right down there on... Is it going to work? No, I must have missed it. Let's try it again. Maybe I have to do this first. Whoa, there we go. That's fun. Okay. Now I am a little confused on all of this. Let's do this all again. Did not expect that. Let's just zoom this out and go. Sometimes Google Maps, when you already have a route in there and you pluck the little orange guy down, doesn't like it too much for some reason. So we'll just do it this way. There we go. All right, so we have 9th Street, and it's possible, one possibility, that this is how Christopher might have been walking on this day that he disappeared. Did he get to this bridge and decide, I just don't want to be here anymore? And any of us can understand. I'm not a parent, but there, of course, are adults out there who have lost children to diseases and murders. We know how those people react to it. It's horrible. One of the worst things on earth. We know how people react to disappearances of their sons and daughters missing. Horrible, horrible, horrible. So we can't blame Christopher for maybe being in a situation, being depressed, having a mental health issue. At this time, it's that he went missing in October of 2013. We can't blame him. The issue, though, is the way I look at this Roanoke River, and this is the bridge right here, you can see it's not very far above the river. I think that we'll get into how deep this river is, but I think you could safely jump off this river or off this bridge and not have any injuries at all, as long as the water was deep enough. Now, if it's shallow and you chose to go in head first, maybe that's something different. But this is not your stereotypical person jumping off bridge into body of water. The bridge is so high that it's like hitting concrete instead of hitting water, and the person's knocked out or breaks his neck or something like this. This is certainly not that. Could be, but this is not like jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge. So then we take a look at the other side, and if you really look far in the distance here, if I can zoom this in, you can kind of see that we got stuff sticking up in the middle of the river. This is not a very deep river. At least not when this picture was taken in July of 2023. How was it on that day in October of 2013? I don't know. But if it were April, if it were March, then we might think, well, maybe there was some snow, there's melting, the river gets overflowing with the melted snow. We could think that this river would be a lot higher when the snow melts after a huge snow, and of course Virginia gets snow. But this happened in October. So the odds of that being the situation, very, very low. Maybe they got a big rain before it, but I think it's not. I think the best possibility here, the probability, is probably on the day of Christopher's disappearance that this river looked exactly like this, or something very similar. And what I'm saying is, if he did choose to go off of this bridge, even if he was injured to the point that he died in the water, I don't think that his body would go very far, and I think that it would be very obvious. That it would have gotten hung up somewhere in this river, and somebody eventually would have noticed it. Unlike the Mississippi River, unlike the Delaware River, unlike maybe people who jump off the Golden Gate Bridge, even though most of the time those people are found after the bodies come back to the surface. So this is not a situation, I think, where Christopher's body would float away downstream for miles and miles and miles. That's my assessment. So now let's look at the other location where he might have crossed the river. And this would go back to what we might call the more, according to Google, the more efficient route of getting over this Roanoke River and getting to that food line. And this is this location, the 13th Street. And so I'll put the little orange fella right there down there. And it's kind of hard to see here given the barriers there. But once again, I think we're seeing a river that is about the same situation, where it just is not that deep. Certainly possible. There is a sidewalk there. Somebody could walk, but once again, this bridge is not that high over the water. I'm not saying it's 5 feet over the water, but it's not 50 feet or 100 feet over the water either. So I think you really have to put that into your calculations as to what might have happened to Christopher if you don't believe the popular theory or the popular story, the accepted story that he got to the food line, then he saw somebody in a truck and something happened after that. It's just not clear cut. that if he had suicidal ideas, that he could have just easily jumped off one of these bridges and killed himself. It's not that simple, even though on paper it looks that way, given that we know that he had to walk over one of these bridges and get over this river somehow to get to that food line. It's a little different than other situations. So that is my map and route analysis for this disappearance. So you have to start asking yourself some questions. Yeah, he might have jumped into the river. Maybe his body just hasn't been found yet. And he was lying to this female friend. He had no intentions of going to the food line. Or maybe he actually did get to the food line and actually got in the truck with somebody he knew and something bad happened. Or we might think about the idea that he never left Chaps at all, that he was lying when he said he was going to meet this woman, that he was still at Chaps when they spoke. He said he was at the food line and actually was still at Chaps. And then something, and there's Chaps right there. He chose to walk out of his life or something. Let me go back to that. There's Chaps right there. Where is there it is right there. Okay. So what do you think? It's one of those situations where it seems maybe a little straightforward. Yeah, we figure Christopher was lying, and on the way, he had a chance to harm himself, and he took that chance. I just don't think that this disappearance is that straightforward. Maybe he was at Chaps till 8 o'clock, like some people said, and something else happened. So that concludes this video. Once again, subscribe, like this video. Let me know that you watched it. Post something in the comments section for this video. And I hope to see you on the channel again sometime very soon. Thanks for watching.